Coming up on Plane Crazy Down Under, we head to the Australian International Airshow and find some familiar faces. Matt Hall gives us the latest air race news.
My gut feel is something's going to happen. I'm not putting a timeline on it. I'm hopeful that I will be involved in it.
OzRunways CEO Bas Scheffers says the app is going strong 10 years on.
We're essentially the most successful app in Australia that nobody's ever heard of.
And a unique Avalon regular makes a return.
The night show, Laurie spends about 5 hours racking that show, and then I blow the whole thing in about 5 minutes.
So strap in. It's time to get plane crazy.
Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to the very first edition of this new series of Plane Crazy Down Under, the show that talks about aviation here in Australia and around this region of the world. I'm Steve Visscher. It's great to be back for this new series, and joining me, my good friend, my co-host, Grant McHerron. How are you, mate?
Hey, not bad, mate. How are you doing?
Well, good, and we can still do this. We still remember how to do it after all these years.
Oh, I've still got I think I'm going to have a couple of knocks from falling off the old bike as we try and get back on it. But hey, let's give it a whirl, mate.
Well, we haven't blown the studio up yet, so it's so far so good.
Got very close when my mixer almost went patooey, but anyhow.
You know the saying about landing, Grant, is any landing you walk away from is a good one. Is it any recording session you walk away from a good one? I could go with that. And
if you get to use it again, it's an excellent one.
It is great to be back after so many years. It's been quite some time since we've done an aviation-focused one. Of course, we did a recent one just for a bit of a catch-up, and well, it was basically we're saying goodbye and saying hello simultaneously was the last one. But this is the official first one of the new series here for 2023. And Grant, as we record this, we're still pretty tired because as we record this, we've just finished with Avalon 2023, and wow, what a big week that was.
Oh, it sure was, mate. It was great to be back at a major event like Avalon. We caught up with so many past guests, potential guests. It was just brilliant, saying hi to everyone, making contacts, leads, saying hi to friends. And everyone seemed to be reasonably happy when we told them we were coming back, which was, they didn't run screaming.
It was really great, actually, to catch up. We caught up with so many people there who just picked us out of the crowd, actually, and told us, that they were really happy that we were coming back and happy with the announcement and happy with the video that we made, which we might talk about a little bit later. I was really happy with that video, actually, the way that came out.
That was your brainchild, mate. That was your baby, and it was great. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks to Evan Shue, our leg model for that one. And we also ought to thank Blue Demon Aviation at Moorabbin Airport in Victoria for letting us use their hangar space to record that video. It was a little side project I had kicking around in my head for quite some time. And we should say that Grant and I have been talking about, will we bring this show back? Probably for the better part of the last 2 years. Oh, we'll do it. Oh, yeah, we'll get around to it. Well, here we are. So that return video came out of all of that. So also thanks to our video guys, Steve and Pam, who's joined us once again, probably against his better judgment, but we've dragged him back in to help us again. And as you can see, his video production skills, they haven't waned a bit. They came up really well. So I was really happy with that.
Yeah, no, it was a great little video and a nice little teaser. And I think the Force Awakens reference was fun. And your line about just as long as you don't say you're my father, that just cracked me. It really did. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. So, so everybody that came up to us at Avalon and have sent us messages, we really, really do appreciate that. And it really does give us some impetus to really get on and make a great new series of Plane Crazy Down Under for 2023, and let's just see where it goes.
I know, mate, but what better way to say, hey guys, we're back, than to bring back our first major guest. Way back when we only had 5 episodes out, we reached out to this guy and said, hey, do you want to come on this show? And he was crazy enough to come on Plane Crazy Down Under. And who else but Matt Hall?
Yeah, it was great to catch up with Matt Hall, and we had a great chat with him recorded there in his little makeshift hangar there at Avalon. And not long after that, we collared Bas Scheffers from OzRunways, dragged him away from. He was trying to get his lunch, but we sidetracked him and had a great chat about OzRunways and how the electronic flight bag for iPad and these days for Android, how that app has developed, where it's been, and most importantly, where it's going in 2023.
Well, mate, with that, I think we should crack on and play those couple of interviews.
Let's do it. If we're going to bring back Plane Crazy Down Under, we've certainly got to interview the first guy we ever interviewed. It's Matt Hall. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Yourself? Good for you guys to be back in the business as well.
Good to be back in the business and good to be back in air shows, I guess. It's been a bit of a drought.
Yeah, it has been. It's good to be back here at Avalon. It's been, what is it, 4 years since it ran, and quite a few years since I flew here.
So let's talk about the airshow scene, because obviously through the COVID times, all that stuff stopped. Doesn't matter where you went in the world. But what did you do to keep busy? And you've got a business to run, of course, as well. So how did that go for you?
Yeah, well, in 2019, like my main job was racing planes actually, and we had a few side businesses. But yeah, at the end of 2019, the racing stopped and COVID hit simultaneously. So we were a little bit dead in the water, to tell you the truth. We're doing some medical transfers and charters, that sort of stuff in our King Air. But even that sort of dried up after a little while with all the border closures. It just became too hard. So we've just been rebuilding actually pretty quickly with doing corporate events, displays, motivation talks, our joy flights, Red Bull stuff. So yeah, we've been quite busy lately, and Avalon Airshow is back in the scene there with doing the big shows there.
Now, we have to ask about the air race, because I know everybody asks you about that, but it was going to be rebranded. There was a big wind up, then things fell in hard times. There's not a lot of money around the world at the moment, so it's probably hard to support an event like that. Has there been any more news?
Yeah, last year was particularly disappointing in that regard, because we actually, all the pilots had signed contracts with guaranteed payments, and the race calendar was supposed to start in England in mid-year and then move through Southeast Asia into Australia. And they kept just postponing races, not cancelling them, and didn't actually pay their bills to the pilots, and as it turned out, didn't pay their bills to the contractors. So that group that was setting up that air race ended up declaring bankruptcy and walking away from it. So it ended up being quite a disappointing, is the nicest way to put it, situation for us, because we were super excited. We were promoting the race in Lake Macquarie, which was going to be an amazing event for us personally. But that kind of all stopped, and since then there's a couple of other companies that have stepped up saying, well, if they can't do it, we'll do it. I'm hopeful it does work, but I'm also probably cautious about saying too much, because last year it did hurt, to be promoting something with a contract, which you expect is pretty rock solid when you got a contract, and money's been paid to them to do it, and then you end up not wearing it. So my gut feel is something's going to happen. I'm not putting a timeline on it, but ultimately, if it does happen, I'm hopeful that I will be involved in it, because I'm the reigning world champion of that style of racing. But I'll probably only do it for a year or two, and then we'll put people like Emma and Chris in my seat, and they'll race my planes.
That's interesting. We'll come back to the exploits of Emma in a minute, because I noticed she's been more and more the face of Matt Hall Racing. But it's a better face. I noticed that. I noticed that one thing we did see when the announcement at least was made that the race was going to come to Lake Macquarie was that the government seemed to be supportive of the concept.
Yeah, the government were very supportive. They actually signed a contract with the air race as well, to fund partially fund the race coming in. And that was, once again, as a race team, I thought, well, this is home and hosed. We did an announcement with the state government and the council, and reps from everything, and it was as though it sort of came out of the blue that you sort of think that things are definitely happening when you've got state government funding allocated to it. I'm on a contract, and they're putting media into it. So yeah. But hopefully there wasn't too much damage done. You don't really know until you want to do something later on, and whether there's whether there's memories of it that are too bitter to swallow, or whether we can get something going here in Australia or New South Wales again. I'm not sure yet.
A lot of things you talk about in your leadership talks is about resilience and stuff like that. So I guess we've just got to keep pushing on, don't we, and keep looking forward and hoping for the best.
Exactly. You can worry about stuff that you can't control, or you can accept what you can't control and worry about what you can control. And I can't control what the state government's doing. I can't control what an air race organisation is doing. What I can control is what I'm doing with my business and my assistance to the aviation community, and especially people that are less privileged, less fortunate as I am with flying. So making sure that everyone's getting a cut of the pie, basically.
You've just mentioned Emma just before, and so Emma's doing a lot of great flying alongside you, but also watched her solo display, very crisp. So you see Emma progressing up and doing the whole Red Bull race as well when something like that comes back.
Yeah, for sure. As I said, she's now trained up as a race pilot. Actually, she went and did the training in England a couple of years ago, and she's a very motivated person. She flies the aircraft very well, as you've seen here at the show. So that was her first Avalon display. The last 2 days, she did a formation with me on Wednesday, and then she did a solo display on Thursday, and she's out back again doing a formation display with me this afternoon at the public event. And I guess you might see it as an exit strategy. It's a cleverly cloaked exit strategy, I guess, where I'm not trying to leave the company and leave it, but I do realise at some stage, I'm going to be that old guy. People are like, why is he still doing it? And I'll be asking myself that, because 12G does hurt at my age, and so if I can get people in the company flying the same quality displays as I do and racing to the same level, it's a win-win.
Yeah, and then you can step back and just do the more gentlemanly 6 to 8 Gs, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Or I can sit in the chalet drinking wine while she does it.
Now we're talking. Matt, the Pacific Air Show, you've been over in California doing some work over there. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Pacific Air Show, it's an amazing event. It's the biggest public attendance show in America. Actually, it's quite amazing, and the performers over there are amazing, and they reached out to me a couple of years ago, just before COVID, actually, to say, can I assist them in setting up an air show here in Australia that mirrors the one at Huntington Beach in California. Then COVID hit, all that sort of stuff, and I went over to fly in the air show last year in 2022, and borrowed Rob Holland's MXS, or MX2 actually, and I did some demos over there at that show, which was a huge success, and they've obviously prior to that they'd announced they were running the show in the Gold Coast as well, which is, as I say, it's a mirror show on the opposite side of the Pacific. So they've got the support of the Queensland government to do that as well, and the mayor of the Gold Coast is they've become good friends, and I'm not exactly sure what the lineup's going to be, but I know it's going to be good. Those guys are in charge of the lineup; they're in charge of running it. I'm just a bit of an ambassador for it to promote it, and I'll be flying in it. Emma's going to be flying in it. We'll get a few unique planes over for it as well from America. They've got a 3-year contract at this stage to run it back-to-back years. So they've got a growth plan in those 3 years. So we'll see some pretty amazing things at that event over the next 3 years, that's for sure.
A little while ago in this chat, you mentioned the King Air that you were doing some stuff with. Have you still got the King Air, or have you traded that for the Avanti?
No, we sold the King Air. Probably just at the wrong time. It was one of those things that I was holding on to it as long as I dared through COVID, where it wasn't making money and it was costing money. So in the end, I decided, it's time to cut it loose, and then we'll reset and see what's available. And it's like everything in life, you close one door, another one opens. So as soon as we sold the King Air, we then got the opportunity to grab the Piaggio, and we've now got that and running with it. And it's an amazing aircraft. It's not that much more expensive to run than a King Air, but it goes 40% faster. It's cruising at just approaching 400 knots at the high 30s. So it's an amazing aircraft. Big cabin. It's a bigger cabin than our King Air. A bit more luxurious and extremely quiet. It's quieter than a business jet, because everything is behind you. There's no turbine noise of a jet, and there's no propeller noise of a turboprop, because everything's behind you.
It does have a distinctive sound from the outside, but hey, that's our problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's everyone else's problem.
But and how are you finding it to fly? Because you're still undergoing the person sitting next to you for building up your hours, I believe. But how are you finding it? It seems like it. I haven't been in one for a long time, and it's a very tight cockpit and very interesting system. So much switchology differences that you've got to learn.
Yeah, so we did our training towards the end of last year, and we don't have a time we've got to fly off. So as soon as we finished our training, we were cleared solo in it, just because it's not a type rating, it's just a class rating. It's just we had to be checked out on the aircraft. So Emma, myself, and Darren, one of my other pilots, we all got checked out on it. It's got different switches compared to a King Air, but the philosophy is the same. It's like any aircraft. You got to learn how does the aircon work and how does the heating system work. But the basics of this is how the engines work and the props work and the pressurization work. They're all about the same. Okay. And if worst came to worst, you could actually jump in and start it. The hardest thing for us is just learning the avionics setup for this aircraft, because it's a new system for us. But that's just avionics.
Well, if people want to find out more about your exploits, they can obviously follow you on all the social media channels, and, of course, at matthallracing.com. Or it's a .com.au, I can never remember.
It's a .com. Think of me as an international company. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Matt, we always appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
No, thanks for coming back, and good luck with the rebirth. It's a great thing for aviation for you guys to be sharing all this information for everyone to listen to.
Southern Skies Media,
The podcast specialists.
looking to showcase your brand with a podcast but not sure where to start? Let Southern Skies Media take the guesswork out of podcasting with our comprehensive and hassle-free service. We take care of everything: music licensing, voiceovers, post-production, show notes, hosting and distribution. Record your own audio or let us take care of the entire process.
Hi, I'm Ewan Levick. I'm the group editor of Australian Defence Magazine Group, and Southern Skies Media creates a fantastic whole-of-podcast package for us.
Whatever your podcast needs, Southern Skies Media's team of experienced producers are focused on creating the highest quality podcast for your business or organisation.
Hi, I'm Lindy Hewson, publisher of PKN, Food and Drink Business and Print 21 media platforms. Southern Skies Media have been producing our podcasts, and they've been doing an excellent job of making all of our hosts and our guests sound absolutely awesome. The technical show notes that they produce are always on point. And all in all, they're our one-stop shop for a full suite podcast service that has helped us build a whole new platform for our brands.
Contact us today.
info@southernskiesmedia.com.au or phone 0422 914 949. southernskiesmedia.com.au.
Bas Scheffers from OzRunways. How are you, mate? I'd say it's a long time no see, but we actually catch up quite often.
We catch up quite a lot, but it's been many years since I've been on the show, yes.
Yeah, so
things are great.
Well, OzRunways, big success story, obviously. Tell us how things have been going. I was lucky enough to visit your nice new office up there in Adelaide last year. It's looking pretty swish.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been growing and growing and growing. I think since we last spoke, a lot has changed. We have people like Rex come on board, and big support contract with the ADF as well, so everyone uses it there. In fact, I was talking to a F-35 pilot yesterday, and they do indeed strap an iPad to their leg, which is a bit of an irony. You got $1 trillion jet, but to make the best use of it in Australia, you still need that iPad with those runways.
I certainly hope you're heading over to the Lockheed Martin tent while you're here, mate. It could be a good opportunity.
Yeah, maybe we should get just an iPad mount in the next block of the F-35 and take it by one of the screens and put an iPad
One
mount
of those little
there.
suction cup things you can stick on like a car.
Yeah.
It
They'll
is
hold
coming
them.
up soon. It is coming up soon.
Yeah. So, yeah, we and with that we've grown the team a lot. We're over 20 now worldwide, and my role has completely changed from being the original developer and doing everything to having professional people doing the development and marketing and business administration, and I can focus on the strategy.
And that's really a success story about this app. I mean, we've known each other a long time, and I remember when you started this, it was almost like a little bit of a hobby horse for you, and it's grown really well.
It was absolutely, and it's funny because I still tell people who are not in the industry, we're essentially the most successful app in Australia that nobody's ever heard of. And I think it's true. You hear stories about someone makes a game and it's successful for a while, but we've been doing this for over 10 years and just growing, and people renew every year, and it's just turned into a great company.
So we're recording this here in early 2023, just for reference for people who might be listening to this at some point in the future, but maybe tell us about some of the latest developments that have been going on with the app.
I think the biggest thing that we have been working on the last few years is modernization. An app needs to stay fresh. We like to say that we probably spend half our time on making what we have better and the other half on putting in new features. And the new features in the last couple of years have really been aimed towards the professional market, more IFR features. There are corporate dashboard where fleets can manage their list of their own routes and waypoints and manage the devices and the pilots and their standard company plans, all those sorts of things they can access in the office on the web and share that with all the devices. And that's really where our growth has been. It's such a success that you can say almost everyone who's an individual pilot already had it. Many of the pilots working for commercial operators had it privately, even if the operator wasn't officially using it, and we're converting all of those. So we're getting companies, charter operators on board, and regional airlines, and it's great. We had Rex for many years, and when they launched their 737 service, we went straight into the jet cockpit as well. And we've had really good feedback from the people who obviously used traditional, maybe considered more professional products in that world, and they tell me this is great. The situational awareness I get with it, the ease of use of the product, and I think we've done the right thing. And it turns out that what works for the little guys works really well for the big guys as well.
I remember back in the day when you were first kicking this off, and there were other apps coming into the market overseas and stuff, and a lot of older steam gauge pilots, perhaps like myself in fact, might have been, well, we still got to have paper in the cockpit, and are we going to be able to get regulatory acceptance of all of this stuff now? That seems like a lifetime ago now. How do you go dealing with the regulator these days? They must be more on board with it these days.
They are. And actually from the beginning, they made the ruling that we needed to be approved. But I think what worked really well is that the people on that team at the regulator are pilots themselves. They love the product. They wanted to see this. So they're actually really proactive in helping us through. It's just, these are the rules. We need to abide by them. And I'm not saying it's super easy, but they help us along. And they make suggestions about how to most efficiently comply with the rules.
Yeah, what is that saying? Nothing easy is worth doing. It's a challenge, and it has paid off for you in the end.
It has, and I'm glad we did it.
So it's not just the app that's improving and levelling up and so on. You've also levelled up Echo Foxtrot Bravo. Back before COVID and back when we were a thing, it was like a SR-20, but now it's a shiny new SR-22.
Well, it's shiny. It's not super new.
Yeah, but it's
still
newer.
2005. But yeah, it is a capability upgrade for sure. Yeah. We loved flying the 20 around. It's a great aircraft. But 2 years ago, we did trade it in and get a 22. And it just works with our team. We would bring bigger teams to places, just having the extra lifting capacity, a bit more speed, although that's not the biggest advantage.
Yeah.
It's nice, but
it's the lift.
Yeah, it's the lift. We can put 4 adults in if we're not going too far, and 3 adults and bags if we want to go halfway across the country. So it's great.
And you've also wound up, for you personally, I believe, getting a part ownership, I believe, of something that can go upside down?
I certainly have. A few years ago, I got an RV4 with a friend of mine, and that's really fun. And I've personally, as a pilot, I've grown a lot since I started. Obviously, when we first spoke, I was flying my Sportstar recreational pilot. I got my private, got the Diamond again in a syndicate. Yep. Then the company was big enough, and we got our SR-20. Having the Diamond, I got my instrument rating, which is just a game changer if you want to get places, and highly recommend it.
Oh, totally.
And then the company got the SR-20, and I got the RV4 for fun, and I went to see Jeremy Miller, who's now at UPRT and doing great work as well. Got my tail wheel endorsement with him to fly the 4, and then when I got the 4, I went to see him and did my aerobatic endorsement with him. Unfortunately, you've met Jeremy, you've seen the RV4. I didn't do my rating in the RV4 for obvious reasons. Also, there's some controls missing in the back for an instructor. There's a stick to have fun for the passenger, but no other controls. I did that in his Yak-52, which was fantastic. Went to see him for a week at where he's based at Brisbane at Archerfield, and flew the Yak-52. That aircraft. It's a stupid design. It's just the dumbest thing ever. The way it operates, and it's so much fun.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I've been in them before. They're awesome.
Like the steering it with the hydraulic, pneumatic brake.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're driving a hoon car. My car goes so's my aircraft.
Yeah, but once you're in the air, it's an airplane.
Oh yeah,
it handles beautifully,
and it does, doesn't it?
And it's a great aircraft.
It's very
highly
nimble.
Recommend it. Yeah. But the RV4, you get more speed out of it, and it's just great. Most people who fly aerobatics, and when they learn, they fly in something that you need to nose over before you can go into a loop. And the RV4, straight and level. Oh, see, yeah, no one around. Let's do a loop.
Nice.
So it's a great aircraft for that.
And so I guess we'll know that OzRunways is doing really, really well, not just when the Android version, thank you very much, love that one, as well as the iPad are going so well, is when you, maybe we see Echo Foxtrot Bravo on the back of a Vision Jet, or possibly maybe on the back of something with 2 engines and turbines and so on. We were just chatting to Matt Hall and his Avanti and all that.
I know. I went for a fly with him in its last week, which is a really great opportunity.
Very hard to get into the cockpit, but it was so worth it.
Yes. Well, the trick is to put the seats down and then climb over. I got in there in the end. I'm glad I did. We're not quite ready for a jet, but I'll let you know when that happens. You can come for a fly.
Oh, definitely. I'm in.
Well, Baz, always great to catch up with you, mate. And I like EFB too. I love that 9-minute flight we had to Parafield recently. It was awesome.
That was
a really nice surprise, actually.
The best Adelaide Airpaid pickup ever, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I might come to Adelaide more often now, actually. OzRunways.com, folks. If you haven't checked it out, if you're a pilot, I can't imagine why you wouldn't have. But head over there and have a look, Baz. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You're listening to Playing Crazy Down Under. Thanks for joining us here on Australia's Aviation Show. It's great to be back with you. And Grant, wasn't it great to catch up with Maddie and see where that's all going, and also just catching up with the success story that is OzRunways?
I know, right? It was a really good session. And I like how Matt did his not-so-subtle telegraphing of, he wants to get out of the cockpit. Those 12 Gs are just getting a bit too much. He wants to be sitting watching with the champagne. I thought that was just brilliant.
Yeah, good old, he's acting like an old man, Matty. I mean, he's only a young fella. He's at least 3 months younger than me. Okay, he is an old man. He is an old man.
Moving on.
Moving on. Let's just move on to another subject. But interesting there to find out too about what's happening with the air race. That's, it's a little bit disappointing to see where that's all gone, but we can live in hope that it comes back, because it really was a spectacular thing to go and watch. I've been to a couple of them over in Perth when they ran them there. And I tell you what, they're still, to me, one of the best locations to have it there on the Swan River in Perth. Was really, really good. The couple of times I went and watched it there. And I've also had the good luck and good fortune to go and see a round of the Red Bull Air Race when it was running in Las Vegas. Don't know that worked quite so well running around a racetrack, a car racing track. An interesting concept. To me, that didn't quite work as well. But running it over water, and I know they did have a preference for running those races over water courses. Of course, holding it up there at Lake Macquarie, if they were able to bring it back there, that would be some spectacular scenery.
Exact. But hey, speaking of spectacular and the likes, we've got one last little interview to drop in with this episode, and I caught up briefly with Bob Carlton on the ramp at Avalon and was able to record this little chat just before he went on to do his display. Bob Carlton, it's been a long time between beers. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, it's good to be back. It's been 6 years since we were here last, and it's just awesome to be back here.
Yeah, and you're back with the Super Salto and thrilling us with your display during the day and at night. Very graceful, very well timed to the music. How long did it take you to work up that routine?
The day show's not too bad. We've got to put the smoke canisters on. The night show, Laurie spends about 5 hours racking that show, and then I blow the whole thing in about 5 minutes.
But it's all well done and choreographed, so you do the count-in, and then they're hitting the music at the same time you're starting. So do you have the music playing in your headset as well, or are you just offset time?
I can have. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But the music is designed, I picked the music specifically so it goes well with the act.
Yeah.
So even if I can't hear it, it still is well choreographed to what's going on in the sky.
And you know the rough timings and all that.
Yeah.
And the night show, wow, spits and sparks, and there were flares and fireworks going everywhere.
Yeah, they say aircraft and fire have been mortal enemies since 1903. What the heck were you thinking?
Yeah, well, I was going to get to that bit.
Yeah, but I always say when dealing with a crazy person, it's ill-advised to bring it to his attention.
That's a very valid statement. So I hear that you're talking about a new aircraft to replace this one.
Yeah, I'll have an MDM Fox, which is a fully aerobatic two-seat glider that's going to have 2 of these engines on it, because if more is better, too much is just right.
Too much is never enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2-seat, bring that back. Now the Subsonics is up and flying, of course. You were involved in testing that, but are you still working with Sonics on other jet aircraft?
Yeah, I've worked with Sonics on the Subsonics program. It's mature now. There's a bunch of them flying, a bunch more being made, and they're working on a two-seater, and hopefully we'll have that later in the summer, and we'll start. I'll probably be the one that does the test flying on that one as well.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's been really busy around with all the craziness in the world. I haven't done the subsonic flight in a couple of years, but yeah, we're still working with them, and we're hoping the two-seater works out well.
Cool. Now, part of the commentary that we do is, Bob really is a rocket scientist. Are you doing any consulting work or any other rocket science related work, or is it mostly all about jets these days?
I tell people my job since I left the rocket science business is to wait for the phone to ring. And I never know who's going to call and what they're going to want.
Yeah, good. Anything else you'd like to say while we're here?
Again, it's just great to be here. The crowd is amazing today, and I hear there's still people trying to get in.
Yeah.
I heard that the traffic was backed up all the way to Melbourne.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, mate, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good to see you again.
Well, there you go, Grant. Some people say it doesn't take a rocket scientist to fly a glider, but, well, perhaps it does, particularly if it's got, well, jet engines on it.
And pyrotechnics.
Yes. That really is a spectacular display, isn't it? One of the things they really do well at Avalon is the night display on the Friday. Grant, how did you go commentating that? I haven't broached that. Of course, you had the good fortune to get onto the commentary team this year.
I was only doing a couple of acts, which in 2019 I was doing one act. Now I was doing two, so I've doubled my exposure.
You're a double act now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so I was doing commentary for Bob in the Super Salto glider only during the day sessions, because his night session is fully choreographed to music. There's not much for us to say. The day act, he does some music choreographed, and the rest of it, I step through what he's going to be just demonstrating, his various maneuvers. And the other act was Catwalk, the wonderful wing walkers from the Scandinavian Airshow wing walking team, and flying with an ag cat, two lovely ladies on the wing, except at night, they take all that gear off, they put on a whole lot of pyrotechnics, lights, and a laser. He produces smoke, flying orbits, and makes a whole lot of smoke so that you can see the laser. And yeah, Tony and I were like, wow, it's like going to a nightclub, because they had thumping music and a laser. It was. I was getting flashbacks.
So it just sounds spectacular. So I think it really was a really successful Avalon. Of course, there hasn't been one now for 4 years due to all the COVID interruptions, of course. There were some hassles with the parking. We're aware of that. I'm pretty confident that the people at Avalon will be, certainly if they haven't already, doing a big lessons learned session on that and working out why that happened. So we've got a couple of years to sort that out, but great to see so many crowds there. Great to see so many people engaging in aviation, and that's really one of the key things that we really want to see.
It certainly is, and that's one of the key reasons why we've come back with PCDU. Let's get involved with aviation.
That's right, and let's get involved with the show and start our PCDU community up. If you want to drop us a line anytime, folks, our email address is contact@planecrazydownunder.com. Please drop us a line. Say hello. Tell us what you've been up to. We'd love to hear from you. We certainly love to hear stories about people who've, taken up flying and, maybe pressed on and gone into a career. And not only flying, but support careers, engineering, cabin crew, air traffic control, anything like that. And we really like to hear good news stories about that. The more of those stories that we can talk about and present, then the more people we can inspire to engage in this industry. As I mentioned, that's really what it's all about. And it's really a key focus of what we did in the previous series of this show. And it's really something we want to continue. PlaneCrazyDownUnder.com is our website. You can find us on all the usual social media channels as well. You can find us on as many podcast platforms as we can distribute this show to. So make sure that you have a listen, download. The complete back catalogue of our old series is all still there online, all 130 episodes of it. And, of course, Grant, we've started up our Australia News Desk report where you get a little bit more serious, mostly, talking about aviation news of the week. Then we provide that, of course, to our great friends at the Airplane Geeks podcast. You can find them at airplanegeeks.com. So certainly check those episodes out in the first instance, of course. But if you'd just like to hear our OzDesks segments in isolation, australiadesk.net, you can find all the catalogue of those segments there.
So we're out here, we're willing to take contacts, and we're back. Let's get on to producing episode 2, shall we?
Thanks very much for joining us for this first in the new 2023 series of Plane Crazy Down Under, folks. Fly safe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Find show notes for this episode, along with our contact details and a full back catalogue of shows, at planecrazydownunder.com. Drop us a line anytime with feedback, story suggestions, or advertising inquiries. We'd love to hear from you. Title music is You Name It by Brian Simpson. Plane Crazy Down Under is a Southern Skies media production.
Southern Skies Media.